Goachers Imperial Stout. Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer. Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one here from the Goachers Brewery in Kent. Now, because of this coronavirus bullshit, obviously it's hard to get beer in a pub or from a shop or whatnot. So these people, Goachers, who are based in Maidstone in Kent, they've started doing deliveries. And I decided to pick up some of their Imperial Stout, and they're quite a good brewery. They do some great beers. They have some pubs dotted about Sussex and Kent, and their range all use local ingredients. So you're using Kentish hops, malt that's been sort of grown in Kent, which is really good. I really like that. They've got good ethics. Obviously they're delivering the beer during this coronavirus lockdown, which I think is great because you still get to enjoy their beer. And I've drunk some of their beer before. They supply to all the the specialist ale pubs, and there's a few around Kent, and they allow their beers to be sold there, which I think is great. And they taste really good on draft. This has come straight from their barrel into that's a plastic cask. Now this was delivered on Friday, so I'm hoping it's now Sunday. It should be okay. He said it would be good for 2 or 3 days as long as I kept it cool and I kept it sort of anywhere that oxygen could get in it, and that's an airtight container. So the stats on this, it's an Imperial Stout, but it's 5.4% I think, which is a bit low for an Imperial Stout. Imperial Stouts are normally quite high. If you're not sure what an Imperial Stout is, it was a style of beer that was based on the same principle as IPAs. They had big hops, big amount of alcohol, and that was to survive the journey to Russia, because the Russian royal family, the Tsars, that was their drink of choice, and they got it from the United Kingdom. And of course it had to make its way there, much the same way that the IPAs had to make their way, the pale ales had to make their way to India. So that's where you get your Imperial Stout. Sometimes it's called Imperial Russian Stout. It's a favourite term from the US brewers who brew this style of beer. Now, let's say this is 5.4%. I don't know how much is in there. I think that's 4 pints that's in there. So it's going to get demolished today, hopefully. The aroma out of the plastic cask. Oh, huge chocolate malt. It's like coffee aromas as well. It smells really good. Let's get it into the glass. Right, get the lid back on there ASAP, stop the oxygen getting in there. Right, here it is in the glass. Now, that is pitch black. You cannot see through that. There is no head on that whatsoever. And this is going to be flat because obviously there's no carbonation coming through. There's maybe a slight bit of natural carbonation in that from the yeast, but there's not much. But you cannot see through that at all. That is like crude oil. Aroma in the glass. Yeah, more of the same. Big chocolate malt. Big sort of coffee aromas as you would expect from a decent stout. Smells really good. Let's get it down the hatch. Cheers. That's really nice. But it's really strange. I'm drinking this. This was left outside, and it's quite cold outside. It's March now, and it's still fairly nippy. This is really cold, and it's flat. As I say, there's no carbonation in there whatsoever. But it's still nice. It's just weird getting used to that. I'm used to getting the carbonation from the bottles and everything, and I'm not getting that at all now. I'm just getting the the drink as it is. Now, if you can stand up when it's flat like this, then you know that's going to be a good beer. Yeah, and I think the name's confusing. I'm thinking this is an Imperial Stout, so I'm expecting huge flavours, and there's not. This is quite subdued. The flavours are subdued in it, so it's more like a normal stout. As I say, it's 5.4, so that is slightly stronger than your average stout. Most Guinness, for example, that's 4.5 roughly, or thereabouts, 4.6 maybe. This is slightly stronger, but I wouldn't say it's an Imperial Stout. An Imperial Stout, I'll be looking at between sort of 6.5 to 9 or 10 or even 11 in some cases. So maybe this should just be called a stout rather than an Imperial Stout. But it's really drinkable. It's super smooth. There's absolutely no carbonation in that whatsoever. So it's going down like a normal drink. The absence of a head on that, unfortunately, is missing. You do notice it when you're drinking beer for a head. It does make a difference, and sadly that is lacking. I'm not going to knock marks off that though, because this is straight out of the cask and it's gone straight into a plastic container. There's no sort of way you're going to keep any sort of carbonation going on that once that's happened. And now I've opened it as well, now the oxygen is going to get in there. Any carbonation that was in there is just going to go. But having said that, the flavour is nice. The chocolate malt is big in that, and there's a coffee finish on that, and it's bitter, but in a good way. Now, a lot of people, again, a prime example, I tried the Sam Smith's Imperial Stout yesterday, and where it was good, they'd put cane sugar in it, and it just blunted all the flavours that I'm getting from this. Now, some people like a sweeter style of stout. I don't. I like bitter chocolate and bitter coffee flavours from a stout, and that is exactly what I'm getting here, and it's lovely. Really nice. But then you're expecting a huge amount of bitterness and big chocolate. That doesn't happen. It sort of threatens to, and then it stops, which is nice because it makes it a hell of a lot more drinkable. Now there's 4 pints in that, and I might have to accept that challenge because this is going down really nicely, and it's nicely chilled as well where it's been outside. It's not freezing cold, it's just chilled, and it's really good. The only thing that's missing is the head. I am missing that, but that is just a minor gripe, and you have to take that into account because it's been delivered. It's been poured out of a cask directly into them plastic demijohns, and it's been sat for about 2 days, maybe a day and a half. So, all things considered, what's the verdict? Well, you've got to take into account, the times we're living in at the moment. We can't get this stuff. We can't go to a pub and get this. It's there is no pubs open, and they've done the right thing. They've stayed open and they've decided to deliver their beer, which I think is great. So more power to them for that. And a lot of brewers are doing that as well, and I think that's good because Christ knows everybody needs a drink to put up with all this self-isolation. What would I give this out of 10? Well, to be honest, it's superb, all things considered. So I'm going to take that into account, and I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10 because it's super drinkable. It's got lovely flavour to it, not too overpowering like you would expect from an Imperial Stout. As I say, the name is probably a bit misleading. It's not an Imperial Stout in the true sense of the word because it hasn't got the huge alcohol and the huge hoppiness and the bitterness that you would expect from an Imperial Stout, but it's just a superb drink. If you just think of this as a slightly stronger stout, you're good. So yeah, and I know I said in a video the other day I wasn't going to review the most obscure beers that nobody could get hold of, but if you're in Kent, if you're in the Kent area, sort of mid-Kent or Medway or something like that, I think you should be okay to get them to deliver some of it. So fill your boots with some of this stuff because it's really good. I prefer it to the pale ale. The pale ale that I ordered, some of the Gold Star pale ale, that was really nice. This is superb. So well done, Goachers. Excellent. And remember, beer is working class champagne.